Hello there, thanks for coming by PosterCentral.com's video blog today. I'm Pete Howard with a 1968 Buffalo Springfield handbill here, a concert piece advertising their show in Long Beach, California. But boy, it's not just any Buffalo Springfield piece. It is an advertising handbill for their last ever concert as the original band with Stephen Stills and Neil Young in the group. This was it, their swan song. From this point onwards, there was no more original Buff Springfield, of course, unless you talk about the 2011 reunion shows. But I mean, of course, the original 1960s Buffalo Springfield. Here you have it, Sunday, May 5 of 1968, as I said, in Long Beach, California. And as you can see across the top there, it was billed as Electric Carnival, promoted by Concerts, Inc. And you can see the lineup of acts there. And under the headlining Buffalo Springfield, you've got Country Joe and the Fish, which everybody knows, and same with Canned Heat below them, a couple of 60s stalwarts. Then you get into a couple of little lesser-known bands with a prominent graphic there. See that, The Hook? They were a power trio led by Bobby Arlen of The Leaves, who actually sang lead vocal on Hey Joe, which was a big garage band hit in '66, and actually quite big in Los Angeles. I thought it was a big national hit, but it just barely squeaked into the top 40. But anyway, The Hook was the name of his group in 1968. They were on Uni Records, the label that had early Neil Diamond and Elton John. So then you've got below that, if you get down to the bottom there, sort of, in fact, it's after the date, as you can see, the kind of the bottom line there in the psychedelic graphics, is Smokestack Lightnin', obviously named after a famous song. It's an LA blues rock band, and they were quite a staple on Sunset Strip at the time in Los Angeles, and had lots of gigs at the Whiskey Go-Go and playing with other big bands like the Doors and everybody else. So if you were in LA back at the time, you probably saw them, you know about them if you were going to shows. In fact, the next year in 1969, Smokestack Lightning had an album that featured Warren Zevon on it, as well as a couple of real studio stalwarts, drummer Hal Blaine and keyboardist Larry Knechtel. So here you've got this, this 8 by 11.5 inch paper handbill. It's toned. It has definitely seen the light of day. It's seen a lot of daylight over the years, but it's a nice psychedelic piece, and it was interestingly done by Bob Massey, a very well-known Vancouver, Canada-based mid to late 60s psychedelic poster artist who did a lot of traveling to Los Angeles, San Francisco, both to soak up influences and to do work. So Bob Massey is really known by poster collectors of the era, that's for sure. And as far as the Buffalo Springfield, after this May 5th date, well, obviously Neil Young would go solo. As a matter of fact, the very next month, in June, he started recording his very first solo album for Reprise Records. And in July, well, Steve Stills and guess what? David Crosby started hanging out together after Crosby left the Byrds, or was booted out, not sure which. And in July, they met Graham Nash at Joni Mitchell's house and did some harmonizing and said, "Ooh, we sound good together." And so the seeds of, or maybe not even the seeds, just the Crosby, Stills, and Nash being born shortly after, within a couple of months after this gig, although not officially for a while after that. So really, it's a very, very much a turning point in LA rock and folk rock history, that's for sure. And it just, having grown up myself in Southern California, Buffalo Springfield was a much bigger band for me as a teenager than in other parts of the United States and the world. It's really stunning to think that the Buff never put an album into Billboard's top 40 album chart, or I should say, into the top 40 of Billboard's album charts. Not even their greatest hits made it past, 42 or something. It's just crazy, given the great sounds of their 3 or 4 albums, if you count the greatest hits. And they only had one hit, for what it's worth. I heard a lot more in Southern California on top 40 radio, but nationally, for what it's worth. So that's just crazy. But then if you think about the influence, of course, of Buffalo Springfield and all the acts, if you will, that came out of them, obviously Crosby, Stills, and Nash, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Neil Young and Crazy Horse, even Richie Furay, if I haven't mentioned him yet, of Buffalo, went on to form Poco, And heck, you could even say the Stills Young Band for one album and a tour or two. So anyway, a lot of influence and great talent in this group that didn't do too much on the charts. But so it's great fun to collect their concert pieces, and this has real historical cachet as being the last time you could ever see them with Neil and Steve, and Richie, or Neil and Steve, I should say, in the original lineup. So hope you enjoyed the piece. Appreciate you stopping by today, and we'll see you next time for something else soon. Take care. Bye-bye.